for joining us. This is Alice Foeller with Elevate Northland, and I am accompanied by some great people. Jenny Lael, who's one of my co-founders, Mike Hadra from SCORE, and Selasie Agibtor, who is one of our Startup Strong participants from Elevate Northland. And we'll also be taking any questions if you're on the Zoom call, or if you post any questions on Facebook. We can try to answer them in the comments later if we don't get them during the webinar. So our topic today is this a good time to start a business? So we're obviously in a pretty crazy time right now. It's April 25th of 2020, and we're all on a stay-at-home order in Ohio. So a lot of businesses are shutting down. Some of them can't make it through being closed this long. And most people think this is a really terrible time for business. So it seems like a strange question to ask, would you want to start a new business right now? And that's the question we're going to take on. So these are the different things we're going to cover during our time together today. One, the pros and cons of starting a new business right now. Two, examples of businesses that started during bad economic times but have succeeded. Three, examples of businesses that are doing better now during this pandemic than they were before. Four, we'll go over the basic steps for starting a new business, doing it correctly and according to all the laws. And then at the end, any questions that people have. And we'll also have Mike and Selasie jump in and share a little bit. So to introduce ourselves, if you're not familiar with Elevate Northland, we are a nonprofit organization in the Northland area of Columbus that's here to help revitalize our part of the community by supporting the residents who live here. And some of the ways that we do that is through helping them with the really amazing small businesses and especially the new American businesses that have located in our area. So to give you an idea of where we're talking about, this is the section of Columbus that we consider, or that is considered Northland legally by boundaries. And we're part of the city of Columbus. And we also have other pieces of different jurisdictions that are part of us too, like Minerva Park and parts of that aren't incorporated in the city of Columbus that are part of Northland. So that's where we're located, but we're also happy to help anyone else who happens to be tuning in. So we'll go ahead and get started. Some of the pros and cons of starting a new company during a bad economic time, meaning the stock market is down, people don't have very much money to spend, people are worried. There are still good reasons to go ahead and get started now. Of course, some of the reasons people might be asking this question in the first place is that maybe they've lost their job and so they're trying to come up with another way to make money. That's often a common reason why people would start a business. But if you've always dreamed of starting a business and maybe you're thinking, oh, now is not a good time to do that, we'll just take a little look at some of the reasons. So the first reason that it's a good idea is that if you need to have a location or you need to buy equipment, you may be able to get a really good deal on not very expensive equipment right now, because sadly and unfortunately, a lot of businesses are not able to make it right now. And so they're closing and they might be selling some of their equipment at a sale price. So if you're just starting, you probably don't mind having used tools or equipment. Maybe that's a computer, or all the way up to a restaurant or a food truck. Could be something that you could get a very good discount on purchasing right now because of the people who aren't able to make it through this time. The second thing was that you probably won't have very high expenses, because if you're starting right now, you can't afford to have very high expenses. Sometimes when people begin a new business in very good economic times, they have big dreams and they want to have the best of everything, and they want to hire lots of people and have the most expensive kitchen equipment or the most expensive camera or whatever it is that takes to do their business. And that can be very risky, and they might not realize it. They're just out there looking at what they need, and they choose the best one and put that in their budget. And then if something bad happens, now they might have borrowed money and they have debt, or they are trying to sell something that's not worth as much now that it's used. But when you're starting out at a time like this, usually you just kind of get the very minimum you need to get started. And that's really good because that puts you in a great position for not having a lot of bills to pay or a lot of loans. So I'm using the word overhead. Overhead means expenses that you have to pay even if you don't have any customers. There's some expenses that you'll have in your business where if you have one customer, it costs you $10. And if you have two customers, it costs you $20 to give them your service or product. And then there are other expenses that you just have no matter what. So if you have a store and it has a sign, you have to pay for the store and the sign, even if you have 0 customers or if you have 1,000 customers. So that's what we call overhead. And you'll have not as much of that usually when you're starting in a down economy. The third thing is that you as a business owner are very likely to change or adjust what you're doing or what you're selling if it's not working right now. Sometimes businesses will start out doing something and they'll be doing really well, or they're doing okay, but because people have a lot of money and people are spending money, they don't notice that what they're selling isn't really that great. And so they don't change. They just keep doing the same thing. And then once the economy starts to get bad and people don't have as much money, their customers will go away. But one thing about starting when the economy is already suffering is that if you start selling blue t-shirts and it turns out that no one wants blue t-shirts, you'll start selling a different kind of t-shirt until you find something that someone wants to buy because you need to make money right away. Some businesses, especially technology businesses, will plan to invest a lot of money in what they're creating and not make money for a couple of years. And that's not the kind of businesses that I'm speaking to now. So usually when a person starts their own business or a family-based business, they are not planning to lose money. Even though sometimes with a new business, you have to budget for that, for it not going well or taking some time to get your customers. Usually if you're starting a business in a bad time like this, you find a way to not lose any money because you really can't afford to do that. And that's a good business model if you start out making sure that you're always at least breaking even. Some of the cons, some of the reasons why you would not want to start a business right now is that if you're selling something people don't really need, that's a luxury item or something that's optional. A lot of people don't have money for optional things right now. They're just barely being able to pay their bills or not being able to pay their bills. So if your customers are typically people who don't have a lot of extra money and you're selling something they don't really need, then that's not going to go very well right now. The second thing is that it can be difficult to get extra money. If you need more than the money that you have to start your company and you were planning to borrow that from family members or friends, that will be difficult. It's always difficult to get a loan from the bank when you're just beginning because banks really only want to give loans to people who've proven that they've been in business successfully for a while. And then right now, also the banks are really very, very busy with all of the businesses who are applying for the government sponsored loans during the pandemic. So it's hard to get through. And the third thing is often we use our own money to get our business rolling or to kind of bridge the gap if our business isn't making very much money. So if our business isn't doing well, that's okay because we'll just dip into our savings. But right now, a lot of us are not doing that well personally, and we don't have a lot of savings, or we lost our job, or our husband or wife lost their job. So our personal financial situation might not be good enough to weather the storm if our business fails. So that's another reason to be cautious. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next slide. These are some examples of businesses that started in bad times, and I have two really big ones, and then the third one is my company, so I can tell you about that. So Disney, like Walt Disney World and Disney Movie Studios, started in 1929, which is the year that the Great Depression started, and there were many, many people out of work, and the stock market crashed, and people were homeless and hungry. The worst economic problem that we've ever had in the United States. And that's when they got started. And they, recognized that people still needed to be cheered up and that they would want to see something entertaining. And they just continued working on with not very much money. And they released the movie Snow White, I think in 1930 or 1931. And they just continued working, and they were able to open Walt Disney World and all of the great things that Disney does. Microsoft, the technology company, started their business in 1973, which was the year that there was a big energy crisis. I think we all think what we're going through now is very strange and hasn't happened before, but actually my brothers and sisters have told me stories that they used to attend school in a store, like a department store, because they were trying to save energy in the United States because there wasn't enough oil and stuff to make electricity. So they didn't want the schools using up all the electricity. So they would close all the schools and make the kids go to school in like shopping centers. And I think my brother went to school at the Lazarus store for a while in Northland Mall. So lots of people forget that happened, but that's right when Microsoft got started. And now, of course, they make most of the computers in the world and a lot of the software and a lot of the technological programs that make things work, like allow us to buy things online. And they're obviously doing great. And then the last one I have listed is my company, Site Insight. I started in 2011, which was after the housing bust, and things kind of got better. And then and then in 2011, there was kind of a little bit of a boomerang recession, and the stock market went down and businesses were laying people off. And it just helped me to make sure I had a lot of small customers, so that I didn't have just one customer, because if I had one big customer that I was counting on to make everything work, if that customer went out of business, or even if they stayed in business, but they just were trying to cut costs and they wanted to stop having me help them with their website, then they would obviously not do business with me anymore. And I would have a big problem, because that would be, maybe half of what my income was going to be. So what I learned from it was to always have customers who are going to be reliable to use my services every single month and pay me on an ongoing basis, and to have a lot of small ones. I mean, having a few big ones is good and great, but it's kind of risky too. So starting at that time helped me to have more diversity and more broad base of customers. And there's just a quote here from an article that says, recessions have actually served as a launch pad for some of the world's most incredible businesses. So and then our next slide is businesses that already exist. They were already in business, but they're actually doing better now instead of worse. We all know there are lots of businesses that are doing worse, but we know of some that are really doing better. So one of those is a pizza store in Westerville. Before this happened, they had been around for about a year, and they felt like people had not heard of them, and they were having trouble getting a lot of customers, because most people order pizza from the national chains like Little Caesars and Domino's and things like that. But they had been doing a lot of work trying to get the word out about their company. And then as soon as this happened, and you could only order food from restaurants that delivered or have takeout, they were in a great spot, because they already had delivery drivers. They already had a system for people to order online and get take out and pay with their card online. And they never had that many people eating in their restaurant anyway. That was kind of one of their complaints before, but now that no one can eat in a restaurant, they were really well positioned. And they started actually delivering things for other restaurants too, using their delivery drivers to deliver for restaurants that don't have delivery drivers. And they also, for a while, were considering having people be able to order a gallon of milk or a roll of toilet paper with their pizza so they could get some groceries delivered without going out. I don't think they've decided to actually do that, but they were ready to do it. So they were a small company. They're much more able to come up with new ideas quickly and do new and different things faster than the big giant pizza delivery companies that most people used. And they got some good publicity for that. And so they're doing more. They're doing 3 times more sales now than they were before the stay-at-home order. Another company is the one that we're using right now to record this meeting, which is Zoom. So it's a company that provides the ability for people to meet online. And that's what we're using for this meeting. And so many people were using it before it was starting to become one of the preferred video meeting programs. And they were ready. And when this happened, lots and lots of people started buying their service, and they had the capacity to serve all those people. And then there was a problem with security where people were getting in meetings that they weren't supposed to. And they very quickly fixed that. They took steps and they sent out updates. And so they've been very responsive, and they were ready to go when their product was needed the most. Another company like that are the different meal preparation and delivery services. So some people get packages of food delivered to their house for the week. It has all the groceries and the recipes, and then they prepare the meals at home. And these services all existed for the last, as long as maybe 5 to 8 years that I've been hearing about Blue Apron. And I've tried some of them myself. But they're doing very, very well now because people don't want to go to the grocery store, and they're not used to meal planning, doing the kind of meal planning that allows you to go to the store only once every week or two. So those companies that were ready to expand and had the ability to grow with the customer demand, they're doing really well. And my company is also doing very well right now because I help people with their websites, and people are understanding that everyone is using the internet much more heavily right now to find out when things are open, to buy things online and have them delivered. People are no longer able to go into stores and ask questions, so they have to have good online communication. And then this is a quote from the New York Times. "Small businesses are really great at staying nimble," said Laura Wong, associate professor at Harvard Business School and author of Edge, Turning Adversity into Advantage. "The ones that succeed," she said, "understand that even though they are looking to do new, innovative things, they need to grow where they're planted." So small businesses have been showing that they've really been able to change quickly and adapt to the new rules. I mean, things are changing so quickly. Different states are doing things at different times, opening, closing, and large chains have to make decisions that affect thousands of people, but a small business can just change what they're doing. All right, so we'll move on. Oh, this is just an example of what Cardinal Pizza has advertised to their customers to show that they are taking extra care to deal with cleanliness and hand washing, and that they're keeping people safe when folks come in to pay for their orders and to pick up their carry out. And also when they deliver, they leave the delivery on the doorstep without getting too close to the person. So one thing at Elevate Northland that we've done is develop a very quick reference poster of 5 steps to start your business. And I'm going to go through the 5 steps real quickly, just in case someone's watching who wants to know what it takes to get things going the right way. These are really basic. If you go online and look up what do I do to start a business? It can get very complicated with accounting and marketing and all these different things, but this is just what's required to set it up correctly. And Mike can jump in if he has anything to add to these, because SCORE is a volunteer organization run by the Small Business Association, and they provide mentors who actually help people through these steps, and Mike's one of those mentors. So I'm going to zoom in on each of these because you can't see them when they're big. So one thing that's really important is choosing a good name. You want to choose a name that someone else is not already using. And you have to register it once you've decided on a name that's not being used by someone else. You want to go to the Secretary of State website for Ohio and file the correct paperwork. And so that's something that Selasie and I did together for her business. And I don't know, Selasie, do you want to talk about for a minute, like the conversations that we had around your name and how that went for you? Oops, let me go back. I think you're on mute. You'll have to unmute yourself.
Is it better? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I do remember when we were starting my process of registering my business, it was really interesting because I didn't know a lot of things or nothing at all about starting out a business. And one thing that actually stayed with me was that I learned that when you're starting out a business, you need to choose a name that is very simple, that people can remember, and it's easy for people to search. Because if your name is not easy and it's not simple to spell and it's not easy to spell, they are going to jump from you to the next person who is doing the same business. So that's one thing that stayed with me, like choosing a name. I apologize about that. Choosing a name is choosing a simple name that people can actually spell and can actually remember and look out. And I do apologize, it's a call. And spell and be able to look your business app online is very, very important. So the name carries a lot of weight. So yes.
Awesome, thank you so much, Selasie. And her business name is Bliss Pictures, which I think is awesome. So that is great. I'm gonna go back here. And we'll share this with people on Facebook and anyone who registered so that you'll get this information. And then on our website also, we have links to these things. So the second thing is to get a business bank account. Step number 2 is keep your business money separate from your personal money. So you probably have a checking account that you can use for your own bills and things like that. You want to get a second one that's just for your business, because as you grow and you're doing your taxes and things like that, it's important to have them separated. But also, if you ever get into a problem where someone is filing a lawsuit against you, if you've mixed the money for your business with your personal money, they can make an argument in court that it's all the same money, and then they can sue you and make a claim against your personal things like your house and your car. They can say that they're entitled to take money from you as personally because you've mixed the money together. And I mean, it's also important for other reasons, but you definitely want to do that. And there are a lot of banks that really like to help small businesses, and there are a lot of banking options available for small businesses where you don't pay fees, and you can, take a picture of checks that people pay you and have it deposited in automatically, and lots of good stuff. So plenty of banks around Columbus have special programs for small businesses. So make sure to do that. The third one is to get any licenses you need for your business. Some businesses just require to be registered with the Secretary of State, which was step 1. But some businesses, you have to show that you're doing things safely. So if you have a restaurant where if you're not cleaning things right, you could be making people sick, or a nail salon, or something to do with healthcare, or a school, there's lots of categories, different types of businesses that require a special license that's extra besides just registering your business. So make sure that you look for that. Look in the state where you're located. So for Ohio, you would look for business license rules at the state of Ohio and just see what kind of rules apply to your business and make sure that you get that in place so that you don't get in trouble later. The fourth one is make sure your business will work before you pay for something really big like a store or a building. So if you're going to sign a lease to rent a space, maybe don't do that until you've already proven that you have customers who will pay for what you want. So you might run your business from your home, which is very easy right now because almost all businesses are being run from their homes. Or instead of starting a restaurant, you might start a food truck, which is less expensive. You might start in a co-working space. Right now, my office is located inside a larger building at Ashland University's Columbus campus. So I just have an office that I can use one day a week. And then I have a mailbox across the street at a UPS store. So I just pay a little bit of money to have a mailing address because I don't want that to be my house. But some people don't mind having it be their house. So just make sure that you do research and you test out and make sure that what you're selling is something people want to buy before you get yourself into some kind of big expense. And then the last one is advertise a lot, hire employees carefully, and know about and pay all your taxes. So make sure people know about what you're selling and make sure that that's professional looking. A lot of the times the difference between businesses that do well and businesses that don't do well is just someone's confidence in going into your store or paying you money. And that comes from having a professional look, nice looking sign, good logo, good name. And then you really want to make sure you don't get in trouble later as your business is growing. So you want to hire people that you can trust and make sure you're following all the rules. So if you're paying your employees, you need to do it in a certain way and you have to withhold taxes from their check and then you have to pay those taxes to the government. If you're selling something that's not a service, usually you'll have to pay sales tax. You have to charge sales tax and then pay that back to the government. And then you have to pay income taxes on the money that you make yourself. So there's lots and lots of different kinds of taxes. Make sure you get advice on paying all of those. So those are our 5 steps on our poster. And then, Mike, do you want to add something in about starting businesses right now or businesses in general?
A couple. Well, one thing that's specific to Ohio, and if there's people listening from other states that may have equivalent, there's a website called, and I think it's still with Ohio Secretary of State, but it could be in Business Administrative Services. And I'll send the right. It's called First Stop Business Connection, and it gives you a very general idea of some of the things that Alice just covered of how to start a business. But then it has a long list of different types of businesses, and it lists the requirements. I mean, let's say you want to open an accounting office, so you look for accounting, and I'm 99.9% sure that one's listed. It will tell you what you need to do or to have in terms of certifications, if any, in the state of Ohio. So for some other type of businesses where you really need a lot more, it also lists, but it's very careful in specifying that those are the requirements for the state. You may still need city. In the case of restaurants, very often inspections are city-based. And in other cases, it goes to federal. I mean, all the income tax related things are federal. So those things, they just say, make sure you look at those things as well. Understanding what your legal requirements are in the area of taxes. I just had a call yesterday which really opened my eyes, how important it is to do your payroll if you have employees, or if you don't have employees, you have contract people working for you, that you do the right paperwork. For in this particular case, this business was paying, I mean, I'm going to use the term over the counter, or under the table rather, not over the, under the table. So there was no records of 1099s for those who are familiar with the contract type, or W-2s. So there was no record of payroll. This business could not apply for the current payroll protection program that the federal government is offering, because they don't have payroll officially. If they show up and say, well, we've been paying, they were paying illegally because they were not paying taxes, their employees were not paying taxes. So you've got to be really careful. Now,
Probably their employees could also not apply for unemployment either, because they had just been, this is what happens if you just take money out of the register and pay people with cash rather than, you know, cutting them a real payroll check and withholding the right taxes, is what we're talking about.
Yeah, good point. So it's very important to really learn, and there's no, I mean, the law always says that there's no excuse not to know the law. I mean, that's not a reason that you can give if you're being sued, or if the government is chasing you for taxes. Just because you didn't know, that's not an excuse. So you better do know. Anyway, that's my comment. Oh, one more related to knowing that your business is going to be successful. Well, in business, there's always risk. So you do the best you can to research and to understand. And if you have the type of business where you can have a little trial to see how things work, I mean, if you make cupcakes, or there's things that you can test. But the key then becomes, especially if you need a loan to start your business, is to have a business plan. That forces you to go through and analyze things, research things, research your market, understand who is your customer, and pricing, understanding who your competitors are. And so it's the best you can do. Nobody has a crystal ball to say, well, I mean, nobody would have anticipated the situation that we're in today. And people who started the business 8-10 months ago are in real trouble, because you can't anticipate this type of thing, but you can anticipate what I would call normal bad times. Definitely some businesses are seasonal. So you've got to make sure that you have enough money collected during the busy season, so that you can pay your bills when you're not busy. So those are the type of things you need to put in when you're putting a business plan together. So regardless of whether it's good times, bad times, business plan is something you should have. And you will have to have if you need a loan.
Great. Thank you so much, Mike. That's great advice. Jenny, are there any questions coming in? I know you're on mute, but I think you're monitoring the Facebook. Has anyone asked any questions? We can't hear you if you're talking. We'll just assume there are not any questions yet.
This is Gladys. Yeah, I joined the meeting so late, so I wanted to find out if the information can be sent through my email.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us, Gladys. We're glad you're here. We've been recording the entire thing, so we'll send a link to the recording so you can watch the entire thing if you'd like, and then we'll also send the PowerPoint presentation that you can page through as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Are you thinking about starting a business, Gladys?
Yes, please. I registered the name already, and I
Can you
heard
hear
that
me?
Let's assume there are not any questions yet.
this is Gladys. Yeah, I joined meeting so late. So
Oh, Jenny, I think you're not on mute anymore, and now we can hear the Facebook.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us, Gladys. We're glad you're here. We've been recording the entire thing. So we'll send a link to the recording so you can watch the entire thing if you'd like. And then we'll also send the PowerPoint presentation that you can page through as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Are you thinking about starting a business, Gladys?
Yes, please. I registered the name already. And I heard.
Can you hear me?
I don't know why I went on mute, but it's still coming up.
Yeah, it's not you. We have someone else on the call who's not muted, and they have their
Jenny, I
Facebook
think
open.
you're
Not on mute anymore, and now we can hear the Facebook.
Sorry about that.
There we go. Okay. So Gladys, would you be willing to tell us what kind of business that you're thinking of?
Yeah, it's like doing body butter and selling some oils, essential oils, and doing my own body butter with shea butter, cocoa butter, and coconut oil.
Great. Okay. And is that something that, do you think that would be, you would do that differently right now when you're not able to really, go up to strangers or people outside of your family to, meet them in person? Do you think that it will be different for you starting that business right now?
Yeah, it's like I rather advertise on Instagram and church members and friends and stuff before I start. What I did was I did some for myself, and me and my family and friends tried it. Yeah, and I'm from Ghana, so we have a lot of shea butter back home, and I'm reading about it and educating people about it. Yeah, and I also had some skin issues, and I used it for myself, and it's working well. Yeah.
Great. So you're doing what we were talking about and trying to test it and make sure people are interested in that it works before you try to make it into a bigger business. That's great.
Yeah. But what I did was I registered the name already, but I heard that you said that if you are doing like health stuff, and this is a cream, so I think I have to, I don't know, register something else because people may be using it and I don't have to get into trouble with that.
Yeah, I would go to this website that Mike was recommending. I'm putting it up on my screen now. It's at the state of Ohio, and it's called the First Stop Business Connection. And it has a whole bunch of things you can go and choose what kind of business it is. I don't know if I'll find exactly essential oils and skincare, but but maybe if you looked hard, you would probably find a category that's pretty close. And then it will tell you any extra things that you would need to get in Ohio to make sure that you're safe.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for sharing with us. Selasie, did you have any more that you would like to share about going through the process with Elevate Northland? And Selasie was one of the people who is part of our Startup Strong program. So Elevate Northland won a contest among other nonprofit organizations, and we received some money that we could use to directly, I used to say sit down with next to, and Selasie and I did sit down next to each other the first time, but now we've been doing it over Zoom to go through these steps, just one-on-one. Do you want to just say a couple words about how that went for you? You're on mute. We can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so I was saying personally, and once again, I would like to say thank you to Elevate Northland because they really took interest in, everything I was doing. They didn't change any plans that I had as far as like my business or as far as my techniques to my business goes. They actually helped me to carve it to look more professional. And that is a process personally I've never gone through before. So it was very educating and it was very enlightening for me. So I did learn a lot of stuff, and I'm still learning up till now. Miss Alice will tell you we are still in the process. We have gotten very far, but we are still in the process of, you know, getting things started, and they've really been helpful. Registering the business for me, and you know, like the domain name, just building everything for me, my business card, they've really been helpful. And Elevate Northland is the way to go. That's what I can say for now. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Selasie. We're so proud of you and how far you're, I mean, you just have your stuff together, you know what you want to do, and you've been very open to coaching. So it's been great to work with you.
Thank you.
It doesn't look like we have any questions from any other participants right now. So I think we're going to go ahead and finish for today. I think I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint, and we have a ending slide with our information on it. And that's right here. So if you want to learn more about Elevate Northland, we have a website at elevatenorthland.org and an email and phone number. And we are in the process of creating some more online classes like this. And SCORE also has a lot of online classes that you can watch anytime. And they are at, Mike, are they at score.org or are they at like Columbus SCORE? I can't remember where all those great webinars are, but we'll send out the link to those.
I got it.
Okay.
There's both. There's national, that's at score.org, and there's some local, and those would be, I think it's scorecolumbus.org.
SCORE Columbus.
And typically we post everything in the in the local, in the SCORE Columbus, but there's a lot of webinars that are pre-recorded in the national one, and I would strongly recommend them because when they post them as webinars, they make sure that they're good.
Yeah. And also, I just remembered something we had talked about earlier, Mike, which is that even though our Columbus libraries are closed right now, there are many things that you can access online for businesses through the library's website. So if you already had a library card before, or you can ask someone who has a library card for their library card number, you can go on their website, and they have many small business tools that you can use from home. So you don't have to go to the library to use them. One is called Reference USA, and you can do a lot of research about businesses that already exist in different areas. So if you want to open something, let's say you want to open a bakery and you're not sure how many bakeries there already are, you can look up how many bakeries are in your zip code or in your city. And that can be really helpful because if there's another bakery that's 5 blocks away from you that's already doing really well, that's going to make it harder for you to compete. And there are also a lot of videos on learning how to do different skills on something called lynda.com, Lynda. And those used to be, well, they are quite expensive to access, but if you have a library card, you can use them for free. So it's lots of training videos on many different subjects. And a lot of them are business related, like how to be better at sales and marketing, how to create advertisements online, how to use software to make beautiful posters or advertisements, all different skills that you can learn that will help your business. So those are great things you can do right now, even though things are closed. And
I've got one additional that you just triggered. Just on Friday, I got an email. I was able to pull it. This is again, Columbus, so it's pretty local. A new service that they have, it's called Reserve an Expert, business. And what they will do is do some of these consultations types of that Alice was referring to some of the information that they have available. I don't know, this is brand new, so, but they're opening, being that the libraries are closed. Now this is official, so there is one particular individual in the city of Columbus, the library, the main library, that's going to be handling these calls. I'm assuming that this person, this librarian, will direct you to the databases that would be recommendable to find out the information that you need. So this is brand new. I'll send it to Alice to disseminate as much as she would like to.
Okay, great. And we also just got some information through the chat that we believe it's possible to apply for a library card online right now. You used to have to go to the library to do it, but since you can't go to the library, they've created a process, we think, for getting a library card online, which would be great. There are a lot of things that are easier to register for now than they used to be, just because a lot of the processes can't be done in person, so they've had to make them simpler, which benefits everyone who's trying to do something new. So thanks a lot. Thank you for being brave and even considering starting a business right now. And it's an exciting time full of opportunity, even though it can also be frightening and worrisome. But times like that are also times of great opportunity, when many things are changing and people need new and different services. And those who can adapt often do really well. So we congratulate you for joining us, and please get in touch if you would like some additional support in starting your business in the Northland area. And if you're not in the Northland area, we can direct you to some other resources. So thanks so much. And I want to thank my guests, Mike and Selasie, and for everyone else who joined us as a participant today. Have a great day. And please stay in touch with Elevate Northland on Facebook and by signing up for our email newsletter. And also, we have to mention at every one of our events to please respond to the census, because it's very important that everyone be counted. And especially for populations and people and families who've not been counted in the past, we want to make sure that our area is represented. So please go to the census website and fill out the form for your family so that you can be counted in the United States. We're one of the organizations that's promoting the census, and it's all done online, or you may have received a paper letter at your house, and you can also fill it in that way. So, all right, thanks again, everyone. Have a great rest of your day, and don't forget about Elevate Northland. Bye.
Bye.
Can you stop the recording, Jenny? I don't think I can stop it.
Disconnect. No. Nothing. You go ahead.